All right, folks, welcome back to DM Radio. Your host here, Eric Kavanaugh, with another visionary in the field. Folks, I'm so excited to have Lior Gavish online with us today. He is a co-founder of Monte Carlo, a data observability vendor, and these folks were way ahead of the game. I mean, they were doing data observability before the term data observability became a thing, so that kind of gives you some insight into where they've been coming from. But Lior, welcome to the show, and we're all excited about Snowflake Summit. What excites you about Snowflake Summit?
Hi Eric, fun to be here. I'm super excited about the Snowflake Summit coming out, happening in San Francisco next week. First and foremost, I'm just really excited to connect with other people in the data ecosystem, be it the people that use Snowflake and do analytics and machine learning and AI on top of it, and be it the other vendors in the space that are doing interesting things and building interesting technologies. I'm also very excited to find out what Snowflake will potentially announce in the summit. Two themes that I think are going to be really interesting is, first and foremost, obviously, generative AI. There's a huge fight right now between Databricks and Snowflake on being the premier solution for AI, and Snowflake has made many investments. It launched Cortex last year as a framework for developers to build AI solutions on top of the data that's already in Snowflake.
Right.
Snowflake has an unfair advantage in the space, in the sense that companies realize they need to use their proprietary data with AI models in order to make them truly useful, because the models are available to any any person on this earth has access to the latest and greatest model that was built by 500 PhDs and
Right, hugging
trained,
face, right?
yes, and trained on hardware that costs hundreds of millions of dollars. So everybody has that, but what's going to make every business uniquely successful is kind of marrying those models with their own data and their own use cases, and that data oftentimes resides on Snowflake. So Snowflake is such a great candidate to be the system powering those generative AI applications. And
Right.
we've already seen a lot of releases from Snowflake around that as part of Cortex, and I'm excited to see what's coming next in Summit. Certainly we're probably going to see a lot more choice around the models that people are going to be able to run inside the Snowflake environment from various generative LLM providers. Probably ease of use around how to use that and how to apply that to data and how to run it in the kind of safe environment of Snowflake. Probably
Yeah,
going to see a lot of, sorry, go ahead, Eric.
yeah, I was gonna say, I'm gonna throw my theory at you, and I think you already kind of hinted at this, so I think you're gonna agree, but I'm curious to hear your thoughts. As I look at this fast evolving space, and I've never seen anything move as fast as this, and I've seen a lot of things move fast, like big data took off, everybody jumped on it. Hadoop took off, everybody jumped on it for a while at least. Everyone jumped on this, but I mean, it's a fast moving train. And I think that the key to success, if you want to know where to bet your money, and of course, your name Monte Carlo, right? You want to know where to place your bets, focus on centers of gravity. And Snowflake is absolutely a center of gravity. I mean, they really, you think about where they came from, they came out of the sort of end of the ennui with Hadoop. Snowflake just hits the market. Guess what? Data warehousing still matters. They separated compute and storage. They allowed you to take it down, spin it up quickly. They really solved several of the biggest challenges in data warehousing, also the cost side. And so now they are a center of gravity. They're a beating heart of the data world. And I think that makes them a solid bet. What do you think?
Absolutely. Data gravity is a real thing, right? Like, it's hard to move data. And yeah, it's just going to attract AI use cases because the data is there, and because it is a tool that's already been, adopted both, to build and run data pipelines, but also, has been vetted from a security and governance standpoint, right?
Good point.
If you're a team that's building out an AI solution, maybe you can bring in other tools into the ecosystem in order to build AI, but that probably means going through some internal processes with procurement and security, and thinking about how to move the data around and how to do that in a secure and private way. And you know
Right.
what? It's easier to do it on, if the AI framework is already within Snowflake, and I think they have an unfair advantage in those use cases, and they're going to double down and build, more and better tools,
Right.
to do RAG, to do fine tuning, and to actually build applications, right? Like they bought Streamlit a few years ago, and definitely added a lot of capabilities there to build kind of user-facing applications that leverage data and leverage LLMs. I think they're going to continue to do that. They announced the acquisition of Truera, I believe last week, which is a tool to monitor the performance of generative AI models. So they're clearly going to offer more tools for the people building AI applications, and try to create, the most complete suite of tools for people to actually build on top of the Snowflake platform. And I think that's very exciting for them. And like you said, they are the center of gravity, and it's going to work for a lot of teams.
Yeah, and of course, what you folks do, data observability, I think most people now know for AI to really sing, you need to feed it quality data. And even in your RAG model, even with your embeddings, I have a whole theory around this that you really want to be very careful about what you choose for your embeddings to work alongside of your AI solution, your LLM provider. And if you do that, you're going to succeed. If you don't do that, it's going to be the trail of tears. What do you think?
Absolutely. What's old is now new, right? To build good generative AI applications, you're going to have to go back to the fundamentals, right? Like use the right data, and use high quality data, and do embedding properly, which is a little bit newer, but all of these things need to work for it's not just the model at the kind of forefront and serving the end user. It's all of the technology and infrastructure and work that goes um into the data pipelines that feed those models, be it through RAG or fine tuning. If the data there isn't right, and isn't a high quality, the application is not going to be great, and the model is not going to be able to fix that, right? I mean, models are prone to hallucinations. Now, guess what? Add bad data into it, and you get a really subpar experience for the end user. And so data quality is kind of a key component of generative AI application. It's now also recognized by a lot of organizations, by Gartner as well. They basically mapped what constitutes Gen AI ready data, and data quality and data observability is certainly a big piece of that. And so it's been pretty exciting for us as well. We've been working with many of our customers who are building generative AI applications, and helping them make sure those applications actually work well, right? That all the underpinnings of those applications are actually working as expected.
Well, and the break's coming up here in just a second, but to kind of put this in context, think about an oil refinery, for example, or any kind of heavy machinery. What you at Monte Carlo do is make sure that what's going into that machinery is the quality that you want. Because
Mhm.
if you shut down that refinery because you realize you got bad crude oil going through there, that is outrageously expensive. I mean, you're going to bring the house down basically. So I think your service offering, your technology becomes 10 times more important in the AI era than it was 2 years ago. What do you think?
Exactly. And we talked to a lot of people who build with AI and data in general. And guess what? The number one reason people are, or there's actually two reasons people are struggling to take generative AI to production and actually kind of extract the business value that we're all hoping to get. One is definitely security and governance, like how to make sure data stays private and only accessible to the people that it should be accessible. The second
Right.
thing is how do you get these things to high enough level of quality that's going to meet the requirements of use cases, and it's going to actually earn the trust of end users, right? And the foundational key there is exactly what you said, making sure the ingredients, the
That,
crude oil
that's right.
is high quality and well monitored and operated properly, and that's kind of where
Yeah.
we help our customers bring those things into production.
That's awesome. All right, folks, you're listening to DM Radio. All right, folks, back here on DM Radio, time for the podcast bonus segment with Lior Gavish, co-founder of Monte Carlo Data. Look these folks up online. And Lior, I'm going to throw you quickly my theory about what's happening here in the evolution of computing. We went from mainframe to client server. That was a big change. We went from client server to early cloud. That was a big change. Then Docker comes along and Kubernetes and containerization. Basically everyone had to refactor to run in this new format, in this new paradigm. And I think these foundational models, not just Gen AI, but these foundational models are the new huge transformative phase that we're seeing. And companies are have to figure out how they're going to fit into these workflows, into these ecosystems. What do you think about that? And what role does Monte Carlo play?
Oh yeah, absolutely agree. These models are changing, are probably going to change a lot of how business gets done, and figuring out how to incorporate. We've collected such large amounts of data by going through these transitions that you mentioned, from mainframe to client server to cloud. We now have so much data. We have to bring it together with those models in order to make use of those models and to leverage them to their full potential. And Snowflake, Databricks are all building application frameworks on top of their own data cloud systems in order to enable that. And that's super exciting, and it has the promise to basically unlock the value of a lot of data that today is
Right,
dormant.
right,
And like,
right,
right? Today, to date with cloud, we've mostly processed structured data because that's what's easy enough to do. And if you ever had to deal with text or video or images, you would have to hire very specific, rare and expensive talent, and let them work for a long, long time in order to process and gain and gain insight from unstructured data. And I think that's changing, right? These models are going to unlock a lot more data that used to be hard to make use of, is suddenly like accessible with models that can interpret text, that can interpret images, that can interpret videos, and kind of put them all together to use in business. So I think that's really exciting, and I think where we kind of help is making those systems reliable, right? It's well established in software engineering that if you're building an application that is serving real users or real business use cases, you're going to put observability in place in order to make sure that the thing works well enough for your use case, and that may be just 3 nines or 8 nines, but whatever it may be, you adopt a certain operational process, and the technology comes along with it in order to make those things work as expected. Monte Carlo does that in the data and AI world. We basically help teams that build those systems to make sure they're providing a high quality results and high quality end products. And we've been really excited to partner with Snowflake around that. We're their only elite partner in the space. We're listed on the Snowflake marketplace. We're a Horizon partner to help with governance, and we're the largest vendor in the space with hundreds of Snowflake customers adopting Monte Carlo
wow.
for this purpose. And I believe that the marriage of cloud and AI is kind of also kind of bringing forward another trend, which is the lines are getting blurred between data software engineering, code, systems, like all these things are coming together, right? It's no longer only the data and the tables. It's now an entire system around it that, combines this data with code and I'm sorry, with models and processes that data. It's a lot of code that transforms the data and runs these applications. Um, and in order to fully understand the reliability of the system, you have to have visibility into all these different systems, right? You have to understand the data that's flowing through the system. You have to understand the code, and you have to understand the infrastructure that's running those workloads. And we've been the only solution in the market that actually combines all these three factors together and gives people kind of a holistic view of how their AI applications are working, and that's been very exciting for our customers.
That's amazing. I mean, I think that you guys have had such success, and you are now very well positioned in this new world. We got about 2 minutes left here. I think that the future again is going to revolve around these models. And so companies have to figure out where they're going to sit. And I believe that governance, data quality, even security are going to largely hinge on this RAG model that wraps around these foundational models. And so for you to establish yourself in that governance layer, I think it's just a huge win. Final thoughts, 60 seconds.
Yeah, absolutely. Reliability is not the only part of governance. Security is the other big thing, and I would say those are probably the biggest blockers for enterprises to actually transition into this new world that you're talking about, right? You have to make sure your data is secure and accessible, or properly accessible, not too accessible.
Yeah, right.
And you have to make sure that it's reliable and high quality and is going to deliver a good experience to the end users. Those are probably the most critical pieces of making those initiatives successful, and we're excited to be part of that.
That's great stuff. Well, look these folks up online. Lior Gavish, Gavish, and that's Monte Carlo Data. They'll be, of course, at Snowflake Summit, and you'll see them at other conferences too. Amazing times, folks. Governance going to be real important going forward. So look them up online. We'll talk to you next time, folks. You've been listening to DM Radio.